The M6 is BMW's new performance flagship. It seems to tick all of the boxes, but there's another BMW that ticks them too. It's called the M5 and it's cheaper, has the same 560 horsepower engine, and it's more of a sleeper thanks to its 4 doors. So is the M6 just an M5 in drag, or a genuine sports car in its own right? We're about to find out the best way we know how, with a racetrack and lots of tyre smoke. We all love BMW M cars, don't we? They just have something special, a focus and intent that often belies the humdrum car on which they're based. Sure, these things have M Division styling details everywhere, but they're subtle packages. Subtle but effective and incredibly thorough, and the transformation from capable and efficient BMW to incisive and thrilling M machine is just obvious. I'd bet money that when you grew up you really wanted an M3 or an M5, and I'd bet money that when you recently saw the 1M you would have given a limb to own one. Then there's the car you're looking at now, the M6, the flagship, the 911 rival, dare I say it, the Nissan GT-R rival. Unquestionably, it's got the firepower to compete, and it seems to conform to the usual M formula. It's lower, wider tracked, there are little aero devices you'd barely notice, but they create a quietly aggressive look that makes a standard car look limp and unfinished. But somehow it's never quite captured the imagination of the car enthusiast community. Can the latest M6 change that perception? It looks unlikely. It has got a twin turbocharged V8 and a 7-speed dual clutch gearbox. It's got more power than a 911 turbo or R8 V10, more even than the Nissan GT-R, but it's based on the pretty underwhelming new 6 Series, and it's less exotic than rear and mid-engine rivals. And then there's the M5. Same engine, same box, more or less the same performance, but a hell of a lot cheaper and probably a bit cooler too. It has all of those special M details, but somehow it's not trying as hard, and a saloon car with 560 horsepower is a concept that we can all buy into. In contrast to that, a colleague of mine used to call the old M6 Germany's Trans Am. He was no fan of the Trans Am, by the way. That's the sort of stigma it needs to shake off. So is the M6 really any different, any better than an M5, or is it destined to be the forgotten M car once again? We've got a couple of tests lined up that might start to answer those questions. On paper, there really isn't much between these two cars. Both have the same 4.4 litre V8. It's got twin turbochargers nestled in the V for improved throttle response. The engine produces 560 horsepower and over 500 foot-pounds of torque. Even with well over 4,000 pounds to haul around, that's nearly 2,000 kilos, the performance is vast. The M5 costs from $89,900 and the M6 $106,100. Sure, it's a fair bit lighter and it has a lower centre of gravity, but will it really show? I can't wait to try these two cars back to back. We'll run performance figures and lap times. It's time for the M6 to step up and make a serious case for itself. Okay, so this is the first test, a simple drag race. We're going to do 0 to 150 miles an hour. We'll get 0 to 60s, 0 to 100, quarter miles, the whole lot along the way. But we should be able to do 150 along here, so why not? Okay, launch control. Got a DCT box, which means we have launch control. To activate it first, I turn the traction control off, which is my favourite position. I knock the gearbox into manual mode. Turn the shift speed up to maximum. Push the lever forward with my left foot on the brake and then disengage the brake. I get a little thing that says launch control active. Now all I have to do, pin the throttle, it'll hold the revs at 3,000. As soon as I let go of this lever, we're off. temperature was cold and the surface a little bit greasy when we recorded the performance figures, and we couldn't conform to usual car and driver standards by running in both directions. Even so, the numbers these rear-wheel drive cars made were fairly extraordinary, and the M6 just edged it. It gets off the line better, hitting 30 miles an hour 2/10 ahead of the M5. At 60, it's 4/10 up, 4.1 plays 4.5. But it actually gets a little bit of wheel spin into third, so the M5 cuts the gap to just 2/10 at 100. Then the M6 starts to draw away, and by 150 miles an hour, it's 1.1 seconds up the road. So the coupe does beat the saloon, and the numbers might not worry a 911 turbo, but 0 to 100 in 8 seconds or so, even in suboptimal conditions, should be fast enough for just about everyone, I reckon. So what is it about the BMW M6 that usually leaves people so cold? Well, initially it's a big, heavy car, and it's competing against things like the Audi R8 or the Porsche 911 turbo. So it's immediately at a disadvantage because it's based on a car that's essentially built for people who like to play golf at the weekends. But there's a bigger problem, isn't there? And it comes from within. It's called the BMW M5. It's got exactly the same engine, exactly the same 7-speed MDCT gearbox, and it costs a lot less money too. So you've got to wonder, why buy the M5 in drag? Just buy the proper super saloon or a proper sports car, right? Well, that argument makes perfect sense until you get into the M6. The steering response, the performance of the engine, the way it corners so flat and grips so well, it all feels like a proper sports car. In fact, it's a real monster, this thing. It's like a sort of rear-wheel drive Nissan GTR. Of course, it doesn't quite have the grip and traction of a GTR, but that's okay because it means it's got something different in its arsenal. You can pretty much do this whenever you like. Now we're going to find out on a circuit which car is quickest. Now the M5 is heavier, it's a big saloon car, so really it's at a disadvantage. But we've got the ultimate leveller, because the bloke in the M5 has won Le Mans, and I'll tell you what, he's a hell of a lot quicker than me. Just up there, and I'm going to try and chase him down in the M6. This is Andy Wallace, who won the Le Mans 24-hour race in the Group C days with Jaguar, then went on to score class wins for Bentley's EXP Speed 8 prototype racer in 2001 and 2002. He's also won the Daytona 24-hour 3 times, raced in the German DTM series, the Japanese Super GT series. Basically, he's a bit of a legend. Okay, so what have I got at my disposal? Well, the M6 is lighter by upwards of 100 kilos or so. Lower centre of gravity, obviously. But he's got an abundance of talent, loads of experience, and a hell of a lot of speed. So can I chase this M5 down? In a straight line, as we know, there is nothing in it at all. And I can nail him on the brakes as well, which is a bit of a surprise because it's effectively, it's not that much lighter, this car, but yeah, I'm getting better turning. He's really struggling with understeering, that thing. Bit too much oversteer. His racer instinct is coming out now, he's keeping it super neat. He seems to have a lot more turn in understeer than me. You can see the weight of that M5 sort of flopping around. But he's got good traction. When I get oversteer, it's really sudden and hard to control. Whereas he seems to be able to just get out the corners. Let's see if I can get a run on this big old rolly understeery M5 outfit. Yes! Haha! Got ya! Haha! Le Mans winner, you may be, Mr. Wallace. My M6 is better than your M5. So from these images you can tell that the M6 is a born entertainer, and if I can run down and overtake our friend Mr. Wallace in it, you'd assume that it's quite a bit quicker than the M5 too, and you'd be right. In the first sector of our lap it pulls an immediate lead thanks to greater entry speed to turns 1 and 2, more than making up for the slight traction penalty out of the first corner. It's quickly 3/10 up on the M5. That speed carried into turn 2 is important because it allows the M6 to build more and more speed through the long fast right that makes up most of sector 2. Both cars hit over 130 miles an hour here before braking for the very tight second gear left, but again it's the M6 that steals time, another half a second or so. The more rapid direction changes of sector 3 further highlight the M6's greater agility, and it pulls another half second from the M5. All told, the difference is 1.36 seconds, which is quite a lot on this short track. The GPS measuring equipment did reveal an even faster 1:16.6 lap, but later interrogation of the data cast some doubt on the satellite coverage. But let's just say there was more time in the M6, much more. Of course, the numbers only tell half the story. What have we learnt about this BMW M6 then? Well, we've learnt that it is just a tiny bit quicker than the BMW M5 in a straight line. But that isn't because the M6 is slow, it's because the M5 is unbelievably fast. Any car that can do 0 to 100 miles an hour in 8 seconds or thereabouts is pretty mighty. I can't believe anyone would have a problem with the performance of this car. It is a proper thing. We've also learned that on the track, it is a much better tool than the M5. There's less understeer, there's less body roll, it's more precise, and it's just much more fun as well. It's a real hoot. A car this heavy just shouldn't be as effective as it is on such a twisty circuit as this. So I think the M6 has done itself a lot of favours today. But even the numbers don't convey how different they feel inside. They don't feel related, not closely related as you'd expect. Of course, it's competing against some brilliant cars, and I know there's a lot of you out there who can't see their way past a GTR, no matter how much money you've got, no matter how you drive your car. A GTR would have been quicker here today, I don't doubt that at all, and I love the GTR as much as some of you people seem to. But this is a different sort of car, and I think it stands absolutely with no shame at all against R8s and 911 turbos and GTRs. It's a proper sports car, this thing. It is a proper sports car. It's not perfect, it's too heavy, it's too big. When you're driving it, I defy you not to have a brilliant time.